Welcome to my garden tour, 2019. It's a biochar garden tour. We're going to start out looking at currently how I'm making biochar, what I'm doing with it, how I'm making the inoculant, and then we're going to zoom over to the garden and see the growth this year. So the biochar comes out of this steel vessel, out of the wood stove, goes in the bucket. Right here are my worm bins. Now, 2 years ago, I was given 1 pint of red wigglers. I drink a lot of coffee, and they love the coffee. So this bin has been filled up, and it is a great way to create an active fertilizer. It's on a tilt. I set up gutters. When I pour clean water through them, the gutters send the tea into the bucket. So this is looking pretty good. I need to probably add more green grass to fluff it up, but there is some dank castings in there, and I'm just putting tea through there. No smell. I throw in char once in a while, and just kitchen scraps and coffee. I did throw in some weeds, parsnip tops. Works great. It's a little heavy. Okay. Same with this one. I had morel mushrooms growing all around it from the tea drippings that I did not catch. So now we are moving on to the garden. Oh boy, I saw a couple winter squash, and I said, I've got to film this. So this is my bucket, char, and then I just kind of dump tea in there. This char is mostly pistachio shells, tobacco stems, and chicken bones, or bones from whatever we eat. I dry them out and char them. Okay, let's go. There's the bike. I just oiled, while I was charging up the batteries, I oiled my chain. So it's going to be a little bumpy ride, but here we go. It is nearing the end of July, and this year we did put about 100 gallons of shellfish slurry with fish guts. A friend donated about 100 gallons, got sprayed by Brien, just kind of broadcasting it. Char has been in this garden, I don't know, for the past 4 years. This year, I was intensively focused on using the compost that we made, which I think we need to visit too, because look at how tall this squash is. Squashes and pumpkins. We're looking at 3 to 4 feet right now in growth. It's out of hand. So I want to say this year, because I dug holes probably 1.5 feet down, and I filled it with a combination of char and forest mulch, and planted the zucchini and not the zucchini, the winter squash and pumpkins in it. And they're doing well. At first I thought, way too much nitrogen. What are we going to do? It's just going to be leaf growth. Because, look at it. It's out of hand. But then today I was walking in here and, well, let's just visit what I saw, and you will see it too. Because over a month ago, I accidentally kicked a pumpkin, and I was surprised it grew that fast. But look at what's in here. Do you see it? We have something that's very large, and I think that it got extra water coming down off the hoop house. But isn't it beautiful? Now the name of this kind of squash, I'm just not too sure. I forgot. I call it Georgia because a lady named Georgia gave it to me. And it was so delicious I saved the seeds 2 years ago. It's beautiful. So we've got that. And then we've got a lot of flowers, bee activity. There's my asparagus. I started this asparagus 9 years ago. We had to move after 6 years, so I dug her up and I put it in this big pot. And last year I got a couple. This year I'm glad it's hanging in there because I was not going to leave that behind. I grew this asparagus from seed, tiny tendrils. So I'm seeing prolific growth here. Like, it's hard to get in. I want to show you the potimarron, Tomatia volunteers. See, that's the good thing about gardens, and it's like after you're established, those surprise volunteers just pop up. Like all this amaranth, I'm going to have it forever, but look at how big it is. It has never, this year it's pretty impressive. That amaranth usually never is. Over the past 5 years, it's never been that tall. That squash is going over the top. This corn looks fantastic. So the soil to begin with is clay bottom. It was very acidic, and I'm telling you, char is making a difference, and the fish slurry. So I want to find that potimarron for you, so you can see how gorgeous it is. I was just walking around, and there's a pumpkin. Oh, there she is. There it is. You know, it's like you come across this and you're like, hey, something's working. I'm not a complete failure. That looks great. This is my hand. I'm happy. I don't know about this guy. It doesn't looks kind of burnt, but we'll see. I'm hopeful. Pretty happy with that. You know, if we have a couple footballs to get through winter, we're looking at some really nice soup. And that's important. So, we were going to show you that pumpkin too, because I'm going to enter into a pumpkin contest. Yeah, we've got a nice pumpkin here. I planted sweet pumpkin pie. Oh, there's some beans. You like these. And whatever the free contest seed was from the dentist office. I really like how it looks this year. It's a little out of hand, but I'm pleased with what's happening. The charcoal has been in, and I want to say maybe we're at, see, we do till, so I want to say we might be between 3 and 5%, but intensively, I'd say we're at 20 or 30 where I planted the squash, you know, locally. And over time, we're just going to keep throwing it in. Like, when I was mounding up the potatoes, I was mounding with straight char compost and sand. That's all I mounded it with. And the potatoes will be coming out soon. I do want to show you what we've been doing with the compost. It was a neighbor's brush pile. I did a video on it. We spent 2 days separating this massive brush pile that had been neglected for a couple years. So there were leaves, there were some branches, there was weeds, dead things, all lopped in and forgotten and wet. But this is the result. In that we had 1 full pup trailer of charcoal after we burned the brush and made char out of it, and all the branches. And then we had 2 pup trailers of just wet leaves, small brush. We put it through the garden chipper, which is not here right now, and then mounded it all up. It did cook. I saw mushrooms sprouting from it because that's the fungi from the forest. So that came in, and then just this week I cleaned out the chicken coop. So that's chicken poop. But just a couple days ago, Brian pruned all of those plum trees in the driveway, and he put them back in the backwoods just to set aside, and it's going to be the new burn zone. And the deer found it, and they pooped all around it, so he harvested up like a 5-gallon bucket full of poop. He just kept going back because they kept pooping there because they were eating the branches. So he soaked that in water, and I dug out like a hole so deer poop went in. So this stuff is going to be pretty great. And then he also tilled it, I think. So this is homemade. This can be made out of waste. And it's gonna see the char. There's quite a bit of char in here. There's some rocks. But this is going to go a long way with breaking up the clay here. So I needed to show you that. I'm proud of it. And we're going to see the other parts of the garden that I'm proud of. The hoop house, of course, I built. It's hanging in there. We steam bent the fir rips off of the sawmill. There's some logs we haven't gotten to yet. But, well, Brian has been. He's been milling cedar. The cedar dust is great for the chicken coop. Do you see it? It's way over there. Just 2 chickens. I didn't have the energy to start a new grouping yet. The tomatoes are doing great. I have 1 experimental tomato, and it's hard to tell who it is, but I dug out a 1.5 foot hole and just filled it with cedar dust because a friend said, why don't you try that? So one of these tomatoes is just doing fine. It's like, oh, it's this one. I think it's this one. Yeah, you're the cedar shaving tomato. And she looks like everybody else. Granted, the roots have probably spanned out, and there's char in here. I'm having a lot of purslane coming up. Again, volunteer in the hoop house. I did not plant it there, but look at the size of these leaves. This is like nuts. Is it going to make fruit? We've got a lot of flowers coming on. The cabbage, bigger than ever. I'm seeing a difference. These are shiitsu tea leaves, and you can also put them in pickles. I like that. I did get some sort of bacteria, and I've had it for 2 seasons now in the cucumbers and watermelon. They grew, flowered, wilted, died within like a week. So I pulled them out so it doesn't spread. Tomatillo volunteers. We're fine with that. Looking forward to all of the tomatoes. The cucumbers all had to come out. This one is still hanging on. It hasn't wilted yet. It's just yellowing. And that one, the same thing. I'm not too sure if it's going to make it. We've had lots of lettuce. The zucchini is by far just, I'm going to sit you down so you can see how tall I am compared to this. See, this is pretty big. So we're real happy there. Beans are doing well. We had a great pea season. I'm always happy to get peas. Not that difficult to grow. They're nearing the end, but I'm going to save the seed. I have planted and overplanted and planted carrots over and over and over in small batches. The weather was unpredictable to keep it moist and damp, so there's a little. I have probably about 5 plantings. This is one zucchini or pumpkin. I'm not sure. It's a volunteer. This is one. So we're really happy about that. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going this way. It's still flowering. 7. There's all the purslane, some carrots. And look at it, it's still going. It's still going. What's going on here? What's this guy's problem? He's huge. I don't know. Just stay with him for a while. What's going on, buddy? Oh. Can you fly? You're so big. Okay, I'll get back to the garden tour. Thank you for visiting with this bee. Carrots are looking good. This is a different variety. Neighbor James gave me these seed, and they look great. Bushier on top. Another volunteer tomatillo. This is a great example of, we pulled out the garlic. Brien tilled it all. I planted beets with the moon. It was some sort of recommended day, planting when the moon was in a water sign. I just hit it. And I have a gallon watering can, and I specifically said, okay, I am going to really love these beets up and give them some fresh worm casting tea. So exactly where the can ended, you can see a difference in the growth. Let's get there. So I could water, and then look there. Can you see the difference? I can see the difference. So the worm tea was soaking in char, and I see a difference. It looks smaller back there, doesn't it? Because the water ran out about here. Can you see the difference? I can. So I fertilized everybody. I didn't want to leave them out. This is burdock. Voles ate them out. This one got eaten almost completely up to the surface, but it was still alive. So I just let it go. So this actually went in last year with this one. And this is really, if it didn't get eaten with the vole. So this is what happens year 2. Or after a full year, then it goes to flower. And I did harvest burdock last fall. It was delicious. The Brix reading was a 24. The garlic that was here was 21. So we're getting some nutrient. And that's important. I didn't have either of them measured in previous years. The carrots were about at a 9. See, I pulled out some beets that were here early spring. This part of the soil is really, this part of the garden, it's really crappy. It was hard. So I worked in this stuff, and I think this is still, no, some of the fish sludge. No, I don't have an example for you, but it crusted up. A whole fish got planted that died in the pond back here, kind of close to the burdock. Maybe it helped the burdock. So that is a garden tour. I mean, definitely we're highlighting what's going on here. Let's walk by it again. See if we see something again. Wow. I'm really excited about what's happening here. And since I did a garden tour 2018, there's something to compare it to. The scarlet runners look great. I'm starting to pick off the little ones. I had quite a bit of parsnips go to seed. Looks like we've got ants and aphids, so we're going to pull this guy out. He's done. Look at that. Just beautiful. So more of those will be good. If I can get 10 good ones. I see another little one growing in there. See how long they last. Measure the nutrient content. And really enjoy good eating. That's what we do. Gotta get this guy out. I've got ants all over me now. Brien made this. This is like a rolling scuffle hoe. You can imagine how to use it, right? Forwards and backwards. That works for him. Then he made a smaller one for Zadi when he was little, but actually it's my size. And it has a really nice handle. There it is. This is a great tool. And I can demonstrate how it works. You can do it with me. There we go. Probably didn't see any of that, but that's okay. Great tool. Good exercise. And, let's go in the greenhouse. There is a couple, I started another moringa tree. The last one did not overwinter. But, I started everything. I've got a beet going to seed in here. It's a mess. There's a ginkgo tree. Here's my moringa. This year I'm going to probably bring it in the coach to keep it warm enough, because it just rotted and then some animal came in. I planted a lot of thyme this year because I want more time on this planet. Some oregano. Love the watercress. This stuff is great. It's happy down here. I started majorum. And I got a raspberry for the tea leaves. This was chaotic for a while. I started a rose. Yeah, and that's about it. This is how I do it here. Thank you for watching. Happy gardening.